It's Monday, AM 970 WSTX, Upfront. Here's your host, Senator Norman John Baptiste.
Good morning, and welcome to Upfront with John Baptiste on AM 970 WSTX. Your host, Norman John Baptiste, here with you. He is also known as Babu. It's good to be here this morning. And yet there are some mixed up feelings, if I may, because whilst it is good to be here, there is also a little bit of a downside, if I may. But we'll get to all of that. Of course, on Monday mornings, I always want to take some time to express thanks and gratitude to the Creator Most High. I know a lot of us think that, well, we are gods. And we go to the Bible to make that claim that we are gods. And maybe we are. I don't dispute that. But I also understand that we are humans and we are subject to higher powers, if not a higher power. I believe that we're subject to a supreme power. And we may be subject to other powers as well. Even in the human realm of things, we do have humans who exercise power and control over others. And it is written that it is evil to resist the one who is in authority. I don't think that holds true under all circumstances, but it is thus written. And so I recognize that we have to extend a measure of respect, courtesy to those who have found themselves either positioned, elected, selected to exercise influence and power. But I think there are boundaries and parameters set in terms of how influence and power may be exercised. So having said that, I still stand by my position that I believe I'm subject to supreme power, and I'm thankful to that supreme power, whom many of us refer to as God Almighty. I thank Him for all the provisions He has made for us, mankind. His divine providence is evident. The sun which shines and the blessings, the benefits that come from the sun, the moon and its impact, influence upon the earth, the air that we breathe. We couldn't continue having this life, this existence, in the absence of the sun or in the absence of the air that we breathe. And of course, those who have studied a bit of science know how the moon impacts life on Earth, not just in terms of human experience directly, but also in terms of the impact of the moon on high tide and low tide, and a lot of other vibrational frequencies that we experience. And I know when we speak of vibrations, when we speak of frequencies, we find ourselves going into the field of quantum mechanics that most people don't want to even touch. I don't necessarily blame them because it's quite a difficult field to navigate. Matter of fact, when it comes to things metaphysical, you sometimes don't even know where to draw the line in terms of what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. I hold the view that the Creator Most High reveals unto His servants His secrets, so that there are things revealed to some that's not revealed to the vast majority of us. Some people do have gifts. They do have knowledge that the rest of us just don't have. So I choose to have conversations with persons who find themselves in that area where they share with me sometimes their experiences, their views, their understanding of things, and I take it all in good measure. What I understand, I understand. What I don't understand, I just simply leave it aside. It's not everything that is said to me, communicated to me, that I accept lock, stock, and barrel. I carry out my examinations and determine how I should proceed. Nonetheless, across the spectrum of the things that I have studied, the information that I've come across, I've come to realize that, there is an immense measure of order, design, architectural manipulations way beyond what my mind can grasp. And so I know that there is a supreme power. There are other higher powers who perhaps work in tandem with the supreme authority. And so they have put in place the mechanics of all that we see, all that we observe. And even when you think in terms of observation and what you see, that's a whole different ballgame that befuddles the mind sometimes in terms of how the process of thought operates, the process of vision, how we get to see the things that we see. Amazing. But I give reverence, I give obeisance unto the Most High, the Supreme Being, and I'm thankful that He has given me this wonderful opportunity, this priceless gift called life, so that I am here on planet Earth and I can see all this the spectacular splendor that is in the heavens above and that is right here on Earth, on dry ground, and even in the waters, because explorers and scientists have revealed a lot to us in terms of what is in the waters that normally we're unaware of. So I am thankful for all of that. I give thanks to the Creator Most High. Now, folks, I am not a perfect being. I have flaws, I have shortcomings. I daily try to contain my flaws and to work on my shortcomings, to turn the undesirable into desirable. I'm a work in progress. I am a work in progress. I continue striving, trying my best to see how I can reach to the point of near perfect, if I may. And in a sense, I'm happy that I'm not perfect, because sometimes when we become perfect, our perfection does not allow for us to embrace that which is good. You're so caught up in perfection that you make that which is good your enemy. No room for that. And so, as we strive towards perfection, we should ask for wisdom so that we don't get too full of ourselves simply because we think we've reached the point of perfection. We keep trying. So again, I say, let us be thankful for the gift of life. And having said that, folks, I want to speak a little about Michael Springer. Springer, of course, we understand he passed away yesterday. I logged into a chat of which I'm a member, and I saw the post that Springer had passed away. And this hit me like a punch to the gut. And for a while I said nothing. Then I called my wife and I told her, when she entered the room, I just showed her the post. She was the one who then went on to VI Consortium to verify. Then she came back and showed me it is true. It is on VI Consortium. And for some reason, it took me a while to process that information, that Michael Springer had passed away. And even after she shared with me that it was on VI Consortium, I did not immediately move to check VI Consortium. It took me a while. I spoke to my daughter, I told her what had transpired, and I just kept on processing that. Because there is so much that Springer shared with me. Springer would sometimes make surprise visits to this radio program. He would just show up. He'd come, join me in conversation, and I was always happy to have him come on board. There were persons out there in the community who thought that, whenever he came on board, he tried to control things, and they didn't like it, and they would tell me, why you allow him to come and you allow him to, but that's just me. I get along with just about anybody. I know how to handle what may not be going along the grain with me coming from someone else. I know how to deal with these matters. And so I allowed Springer to come on board and have a free hand. Springer and I, we spent a lot of time together. Springer has been fiercely opposed to me at certain points in time, and he has been a fierce supporter and advocate in my behalf at other times. We've had our differences. At one time, Springer, along with another friend of ours, we would get together, have breakfast. We broke bread. We agreed on certain things, and then when I wasn't around, the two of them got together and came up with things that were opposed to the positions that I held. Later on, Springer would explain to me how things unfolded. He did not always agree with what the other brother was saying, but things just went spiraling in a direction opposed to the positions that I held. That's all. Be it what it may, what it might have been, we were able to go over those humps and just have a pretty good, cordial relationship between Springer and myself. Springer had not spoken to me for a while, a little bit. I would see occasional posts from him on Facebook, and I saw where he had taken exception to some statements someone had made to him about some personal matters. I gave some thought to that based on my observations. And then 2 Mondays ago, actually the last time I was here for my Monday morning program, at the end of the program, that was about 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, Springer came in. Oh, he met me downstairs. Downstairs he met me, yes. I think it was downstairs that he met me. And he said to me, I want us to go and have a drink. I said, it's not really a problem. Then he saw my wife and said, oh, the wife is here. Well, and he turns to my wife and he says, I really came so that, Baptiste and I could have gone for a drink, but I see you're here with him. And then he says, well, why don't you can just join us? Join us, let's go. We're going to have a drink and perhaps some finger foods. And so we agreed, and we went over to Shakey's, which is not too far from the studio. We went there to have a couple of drinks, cocktails. And then Springer shared some pretty close secrets with me. And I wondered why he had shared those close secrets with me, but he shared some secrets with me, which had me thinking. And then after we had had a couple of drinks and we left the business establishment, my wife shared some of his observations with me. And again, it was what it was and just stayed there. And I had not spoken to Springer since then. That was either 2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, 2 Mondays ago, that Springer came by to meet me after my radio program We went over to have a couple of drinks and he shared those matters with me. And then all of a sudden, yesterday, the news came. But what was more, in a sense, intriguing about yesterday is that I had a dream the night before. And I told my wife I had this disturbing dream. And it involved friends, but Springer was not the one in the dream. I told her I had this disturbing dream. I don't want to repeat that to anyone because I don't know what it means. And then, bam, that news comes forward. So I said, oh, so that's the dream that I had. That's what it was all about. And so Springer has left us. And I want to say to you guys out there, because I know some of you, you had a certain view of Springer that because of the relationship I had with him, I know that it's a view that came from misunderstanding. You know, Springer would come across sometimes with this facade that he's strong, he's bold, almost indomitable. When he walks into a building, he projects himself in such a manner that he stands tall. He's powerful. And sometimes even seems sort of like, thug-like in approach. But I can tell you guys that beneath all of that facade that he had, there was a softer side to Springer. And that softer side was what I believe propelled him into political activism, being an advocate for different causes here in this community. But somehow he felt the pain of others. And he wanted to see how he could ease the pain of others, notwithstanding that facade that he portrayed in public. He was the kind of guy who was just, he would reach out. He was generous. I recall one time when I was involved in my political campaign, Springer would call me and tell me, listen, man, I know you're kind of down and out. You're spending all of this money campaigning. Come on, I'm going to treat you to lunch. And he would just take me out there and buy lunch for me, buy me drinks, and try to make me feel comfortable. He never went out there to actively campaign with me, but he would always speak up for me at times. And there was a time when I ran and I had him hold the radio program for me, and he had Jimmy Weber join him. And somebody called me and said, man, how you could have Springer and Jimmy Weber and they're actually putting blows on you and making fun of you. And I took it all in good stride. But that's the kind of guy he was. And people often didn't see that soft side of him. They only saw that he portrayed, which was really a facade that he portrayed publicly. He really liked my grandson. Whenever he met my grandson, he would go, Ozzy, he would do anything for Ozzy. And so yesterday, when all of this transpired, Ozzy was actually at the complex because there was a game at the complex. I had dropped him off. And so when I picked him up, I did exactly what I did to my wife. I just showed him on the phone. And to him, this was just incredulous. He couldn't believe it. But he did the very same thing that my wife did. He went to consortium and verified for himself. And he was just quiet all the way home. When we got home, he went to his mother and to let his mother know that, he had just seen the news. And the mother said, well, she had seen it. And it wasn't until about maybe half an hour later that he and I got into a brief conversation about Springer, and he wanted to know what had happened. I told him, well, I really don't know. They just found him at his house, unresponsive. So, folks, it's not guaranteed, I don't even know what guarantees we have in this life. It's like We're here today, we're gone tomorrow. We're here this minute, next minute we're not. It's crazy when you think of it. It's crazy. I spoke to one mutual friend of ours, and when he was sort of like, dumbfounded over the whole thing, I said to him, you know what? Going like that, to me, in my estimation, going like that is better than having to be in pain over an extended period of time and just waiting to exhale. To me, it's no matter whether it is for those who survive or the one who departs, to me, it's a lot easier to make that prompt departure as opposed to lingering in pain and waiting to exhale. And so it is what it is, folks. It is what it is, but it puts us all in check. It puts us all in check, and it puts some of us in check, mate. When you're in check, there is some wiggle room. There is opportunity to move, and to move in a beneficial manner. When you're in checkmate, no options. Checkmate. So, whilst we look at my friend's departure, I say to us all, check ourselves. We are all in check, and some of us in checkmate. I want to go into this a little later during the course of this program. I want to touch upon a number of items. I hope that we can reflect a little in terms of our approach to life, our dealings with each other, the mindset that we have, because some of us think we're so high and mighty. Some of us think we're so much above board. Some of us have this veneer that we think is impeccable. And I'm saying, man, we gotta be careful. Let's see, somebody's trying to reach us. Let me see who this is. Hello, caller. Good morning and welcome. Hello, caller. Hello. Hello, are you there? All right. I don't know. Anyway, caller, you can try again. Anybody who wants to come in, 340-773-0390 and 773-0490. The numbers to call if you want to get in and share some thoughts with us relative to Brother Springer, who has passed on. And of course, as we get to the top of the hour, I want to touch upon other matters. I know some may go against the grain with people listening, but it's not a matter of just simply trying to curry favor and to, just win people over to you, to stand with you. Nah, we want to be truthful in terms of what we present. We want to come across with sincerity and honesty. Let me see what this. Hello, caller. Good morning and welcome.
Pleasant good morning.
Good morning to you.
Crucial season's greetings. It's a sad moment. I am very saddened to hear the news of the passing out of Michael Springer, our colleague.
Mm-hmm.
my condolences to his family, his friends, and all his loved ones. And like I say, it's a moment to reflect and appreciate the blessings we have, because tomorrow is not promised. This could be anybody's last sunrise today.
Mm-hmm.
But we leave behind a legacy. And I hope everybody will think about, while you're here, what contributions you could make the world a better place, especially the Virgin Islands of the United States. I think all of us want to see a better Virgin Islands. It's just that we have different ideas or approaches how to achieve that goal. But nonetheless, I believe each of us have a purpose for being here. And never take it for granted
Mm-hmm.
the power that we have. We who are bona fide residents of the U.S. Virgin Islands, we should never relinquish our right and privilege to vote. But I understand the number of registered voters have dropped. You know that?
Significantly.
What is going on? And yet we hear the vociferous voices and the airwaves complaining. But where's the move to encourage our young people to vote instead of promoting conspiracy theories and myths? You have to have some level of trust in the government. If you don't have any trust at all in the government, I don't know, there's nothing I can say with it. But you have to have faith that we do have what is called a representative democracy, and it works, but we have to participate in the process. When I look at the demographics of what I'm seeing in the Virgin Islands, right before my eyes, and I have blinked, the people who will be voting soon won't be the majority native Virgin Islanders. I don't even know who's the majority right now. Do you?
I think actually, I believe that the majority of the voting bloc are in the native Virgin Islanders. The only thing is that many of them have connections or roots going to other parts that are more identifiable than the roots that go back to what we generally consider to be native Virgin Islanders. In other words, you have a significant number of registered voters who were born in the territory, but their parents came from elsewhere, not necessarily their grandparents.
I understand. You're talking about ancestral native thing,
right? Right.
But I am saying all of us here now,
mm-hmm.
who here
mm-hmm.
presently
mm-hmm.
make the difference.
True.
And I embrace diversity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think whatever constitution we have, it's not what I think. I know for a fact it has to be consistent with the U.S. Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as long as we are unincorporated territory,
mm-hmm.
we can't expect to violate the 14th Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
So this thing about we grappling with identity is what is there to grapple about?
Mm-hmm.
You are residents, a legal resident, you have all the rights and benefits as natives
mm-hmm.
of the Virgin Islands.
Mm-hmm.
And you should be treated equitably, equally under the U.S. flag,
mm-hmm.
because we are citizens.
Mm-hmm.
In order to be a registered voter, you have to be a citizen
mm-hmm.
of the U.S. United States of America,
mm-hmm.
regardless of where you're born.
Mm-hmm.
So I am saying, let's take this moment to really reflect on our blessings and see how we can make a difference for the next generation, because the senators don't put themselves in office. governor does not put himself in office. We, the people, we put them in office. So we get a government we will vote for. And we have to respect the will of the majority. And one of the things I will always remember Micah Springer from is always to say a consensus majority drives totality. Remember him saying that?
Mm-hmm.
And I was inspired by him in many ways. Because when I was exercise, reading, and I get the word, yes, I get some of my lyrics from him. Read to exceed. Knowledge is power. Small minds talk about people. Medium minds talk about events.
Mm-hmm.
And great minds talk about ideas. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
So I have very fond memories of him. And I just want people, if we could, it's idealistic, if we could love each other. In my book, I only recognize one race, and that's the human race.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you were saying something?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Ma, what makes for the election of good government, if you may?
The election of what?
Good government officials. What does it take? What does it take for the electorate to elect people who have the requisite good elements, good characteristics to represent us in office?
Well, I guess it takes a lot of encouragement
Mm-hmm.
and being persistent, like you and I are.
Mm-hmm.
Very persistent in our mission, very passionate
Mm-hmm.
that we want people to be involved
Mm-hmm.
and to respect the process.
Mm-hmm.
Majority wins,
Mm-hmm.
majority rules.
Mm-hmm.
I often hear people when their candidates don't get it, something wrong with the machine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're all kind of excuses, but can't recognize your candidate just didn't have enough votes, period.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Majority is numbers, it's a numbers game.
Mm-hmm.
And politician is someone who's seeking office and has to campaign. They're going to put the best side forward.
Mm-hmm.
I don't tell people who to vote for or how to vote. All I do say, vet the candidates for yourself, set your criteria, because my criteria might not be somebody else's criteria.
Mm-hmm.
I look for certain characteristic traits. That's me.
Mm-hmm.
And education level is important to me too.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say somebody can make a good center because they're have a school dropout. And that's why the eligibility requirement is minimal. There's no educational criteria to become a president or governor. That's the three basic eligibility. Citizen of the United States, the age requirement, and the residency requirement. Why I don't know, for all the office, public office here in the Virgin Islands, it's a specific time and a specific say bona fide resident, except for the position of delegate to Congress, and also for, from a state, also representative on a state. Just say you have to be an inhabitant, and it doesn't say for what period of time. So that's open up to interpretation. And I recently made some remarks that might have been asked on the age requirements, but I got pitched for, and I just want to let people know I'm not perfect. We all make mistakes. I stand corrected. Facts can be verified. and some things are up to interpretation. By interpretation, if you're an inhabitant of the U.S. Virgin Islands, in other words, you're a bona fide resident. Okay? Because inhabitants is so general. For the most part, the person elected as House of Representatives spend a great deal inhabiting Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
But doesn't say how long, but at least my interpretation is you have to be rooted here in the community, understand the issues. And how could you understand the issues if you don't live in the place? So when you inhabit a place legally as a bona fide resident, that means one of the benefits is you're an eligible voter, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't be registered to different places
Mm-hmm.
under a U.S. flag.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a person is already registered in a state, they can't come down here and then register to vote
Mm-hmm.
in the U.S. Virgin Islands, right?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what was the issue with the farmer, Governor Kenneth, who I saw, by the way? So his peeps, it was nice to see the farmer governor,
Mm-hmm.
and he greeted me. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he's in the Christmas spirit, he's here.
Wow.
And so I'm just saying, be respectful of each other, be kind, and don't just make it now because it is Christmas time. Always be kind to each other.
Mm-hmm.
We
Let
never
me-
know.
Let me ask you something, because I spoke earlier about getting into looking at ourselves from the standpoint of reflection and seeing if we're in check or checkmate as far as this experience, this journey is concerned. Now, hear me out. I recall we had two assistant principals on the island of St. Croix who got themselves in areas where they engaged in some kind of contravention of law. There was one from the complex. I think it might have had to do with either sexual harassment or molestation or something.
Yeah, I vaguely remember one. I don't know what happened to
But
you.
hold on, but when he came out of serving his time, he was given an assignment downtown at education headquarters. And
Mhm.
folks took exception to that. And they eventually removed him. The second one was involved in a situation where he was driving one evening and he hit a pedestrian who unfortunately died.
Mhm.
The assistant principal spent about 6 months in prison.
Mhm.
And when he came out and he returned to his position at the local high school where he worked, again, folks got into an uproar and he was removed.
And now he's retired.
Yes. So then here is my question. Here is my question to all of us in this community. We talk about people paying the dues. You know, you do something wrong, you have to compensate, make up for it somehow, give back to the community. These people served time, they went to prison, they came back, they were denied certain positions. And there might have been some justification in terms of people who work with children, but there was one case which did not involve that directly. And then we have a law on the books that says that once a convicted felon, for some reason you cannot run for office to serve in the legislature of the Virgin Islands. But I understand that you can run for office and serve as delegate, you know,
Right.
and I'm not too sure about the governor, lieutenant governor position. But I'm saying, don't you think it's about time that our people be enlightened, be informed, be so instructed so that they can make decisions based upon wisdom and sound judgment? And is it time that we should revisit these positions, these regulations, so that to tell me that simply because somebody committed an infraction, a violation of law, 20, 25, 30 years ago, you're saying that regardless of how this person might have made himself appear to be upstanding in the community, that person should not be allowed to run for public office. Is that right? Is that the right way for us to move?
I don't think it's right. I think it's draconian. I think it's anti-democratic, and it's unjust. It's unfair because you don't have that to run for president of the United States. Look at this president, the most felonies ever.
Mm-hmm.
To my knowledge, the only president that had ever been elected was a felony conviction. And also to run for governor, there's no such thing as that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that, what the history behind that. But I think that's something that could be addressed by the U.S. By the Constitutional Convention,
Mm-hmm.
because as long as it doesn't violate whatever constitution draft we have,
Mm-hmm.
Congress is going to scrutinize it. No, they're going to scrutinize it more than ever. So this will be the sixth attempt.
Mm-hmm.
So Congress will have a very keen eye on it. But I think if that clause is removed, it will not be unconstitutional.
Mm-hmm.
Because it would be consistent with the U.S. Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
They would then set up that extra requirement
Mm-hmm.
as a basic eligibility requirement. That is something, for me, when you go beyond the three basic eligibility requirements, the age, residency, and U.S. citizenship,
Mm-hmm.
the rest is up for the electors. You determine the criteria.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to put in somebody who you feel, despite having a minor infraction, like a misdemeanor, like in the case of the legendary Alisa Chucky Hansen,
Mm-hmm.
and people still today making defamatory remarks on that.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know the facts.
Mm-hmm.
She was not convicted for tax evasion,
Mm-hmm.
which is a felony.
Mm-hmm.
She was convicted for failure to file, where a lot of people doing, but we know it was a political witch hunt.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, look at the mayor of DC. He went to jail for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Come on, and still became mayor of DC again.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I do think that needs to address, and also the issue with the inhabitancy with the to run for delegate to Congress.
Mm-hmm.
They need to put a time on it. I don't think it will be no violation. I know that for the let me see, for Guam. Do you know for Guam they have that thing that you can't have a felony conviction to be eligible to run for delegate to Congress from Guam? That's
Mm-hmm.
in there.
Well, let me ask you: was that something that they developed on their own initiative, or it was given to them by Congress of the United States?
I'm sorry, it's not their country. Guam doesn't have a constitution like the Virgin Islands.
Mm-hmm.
So let me see. I hope I'm gonna double check, but I think if it's Guam, it's in their court.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't have a constitution.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's some others, but I'm gonna double check because I don't want to say anything incorrect. But I think there's some other things with the other unincorporated territories.
Mm-hmm.
But I know one of them does mention about a felony conviction to run for delegate to Congress.
Mm-hmm.
And with Puerto Rico, it's a 4 years, and they call it residency commission, but it's the same thing essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So we we could put in certain things, but I guess you have to be careful that it doesn't really work against you, because you want to keep the pool open so that people from our backgrounds have a fair chance to represent the people. And it should be a true reflection of population. Everybody doesn't have a large degree from Harvard, right? The masses are going out to vote may not have a high literacy level, but still, I appreciate all those who participate in that process and exercising civic duty, because it's to represent the entire population, not a segment of the population. And that's why with this constitution, I hope that people start to wake up and see they're being nonchalant, and we get the government we vote for. It would be a shame if Congress were to approve the draft and then it comes to ask for ratification and less than 30% of the population go out and vote. Because guess what? It would be binding because it doesn't say a certain percent has to participate, like in the revised organic act, in order for us to have a valid referendum, right? You need 50% plus one of the registered voters. And even with that, suppose right now they said the number of registered voters in the voting is about 26,000. I gotta go check it.
We're down to about 13,000 elected registered voters on the island of St. Croix. We're down to about 13,000.
That's a shame. Because guess what? If you're telling me less than 20% of the population deciding who will be our governor and senators, that's not a true number.
Well, don't forget that, the overall population of the territory has decreased significantly, I think by about 20% within the last 5 to 10 years. So that's another thing we have to look at. But let me just share this with you on those who are listening. We need to have some kind of a mindset shift, a reorientation that moves us more towards enlightenment. And I'm going to tell you why I say that to you and those who are listening. I beg your indulgence. There was a time when we had Edward Seaga, who was not born Jamaican, but rose to become the Prime Minister of Jamaica. We had the wife of Dr. Chetty Jagan, I think she was Janet Jagan, unless I'm mistaken, who went on to become the Prime Minister of Guyana. We had Southwell, who was born in Dominica, who became Premier, I think it was, if not Prime Minister of St. Kitts Nevis. We have Bird, who was born in the United States, became Prime Minister in Antigua. We had, again, on the island of St. Lucia, we had John Compton, who was not born in St. Lucia but became Prime Minister. We had George Mallet, who was Minister of Tourism, not born on the island of St. Lucia. In Barbados, we had Errol Barrow, who had significant connections to St. Croix and the Virgin Islands. It was not a problem for the populace at that time to elect those persons into, elected office. The fact that they were not born on those respective islands didn't matter. But we've come to a point today where there is a shift, not for the better, but for the worse. And it's not just here in the Virgin Islands. I hear even on the island of St. Lucia, I've heard some voices of dissent against the one individual who's in opposition, who is said to be, well, of course, his roots go by along Caucasian lines, but long-standing presence on the island of St. Lucia. And there are persons who just hold his race against him, and the fact that his mother gave birth to him on the neighboring island of Martinique, they hold that against him. And I know countless children of St. Lucian parentage who were born in Curacao, born in the Virgin Islands, born in French Guiana, born in Trinidad, went back to the island of St. Lucia, where they have grown to become adults, having full-fledged participation on the island. They're not white, they're of African descent, but they were not born on the island, and they claim to have roots because of their parents. Nobody speaks about it, but when it comes to this one guy, who is Caucasian, I understand, they hold it against him. And his mother just simply went to Martinique to have him, for whatever reasons I don't know. Born in Martinique, came back to St. Lucia, grew up in St. Lucia, and they're trying to hold that against him. And you have the voices of dissent on the island of St. Lucia right now, who think like some of the voices here in the Virgin Islands, claiming that there should be an amendment to the Constitution, that if you are not born St. Lucian, you couldn't hold the office of Prime Minister. Those voices ignore the fact that we have significant persons residing on the island who were not born on the island. They were born elsewhere in the Caribbean, and some of them even in America and in Europe, having returned to the land of their parents, where they've laid roots, established themselves, and you're now in effect saying to them that even they themselves shouldn't become Prime Minister of the island by virtue of some imagined amendment you guys would like to see introduced. We need to change that mindset, man. We're thinking just like the President of the United States of America, whom we criticize and say that he's married to a foreigner. He was married to another one before that one, and he's so hell-bent on going after persons who are not born in the United States. I mean, come on, people. We need to stop it, especially when it comes to African descendants wanting to treat fellow African descendants in a manner that begs, that spells discrimination. Come on, man. We serious?
We're not going to eliminate that. Bigotry, racism, and all the ism, always exist. But we got to continue to speak out against those things. And even now we have homophobia. And I know I'm going to get some backlash, pitchfork from my nemesis. However, we have to accept nobody has to be born in a particular place, a particular time, a particular sex. We can't change our sex. We could change our gender. And we have to respect people. Just if we're talking about democracy and human rights, people right to pursue happiness as long as they're not infringing on your rights to pursue the happiness and infringing on your right to practice whatever religious beliefs you have. That's up to you. But to impose it on others and tell people how they're supposed to feel, because we have to recognize we do have people who identify as homosexuals or are recognized as homosexuals who are being elected too. And, but we still have this what you call chauvinistic attitude. So people want to see females elected as governors. That's the next thing here in the U.S. Virgin Islands. I know when I went conversing with some gubernatorial team, they don't want to hear that. No, a woman can't be a governor. That's in their head.
You see, again, Vanel, we talk about the importance, the need to teach our children VI history and Caribbean history or Caribbean heritage. I want people to understand that when you teach VI history or Caribbean history, these two items cannot be taught separate and apart from African history and civilization, and even world history for that matter, because Europeans played a role, and a significant role, in terms of how we found ourselves here in these parts. And And people must understand that even in the post-slavery days, there were two colonies, if I may use that expression, established in Africa for Africans who had been given their freedom. Sierra Leone was one of them, and I believe
Liberia.
and Liberia, and beyond that, and beyond that, I want people to our people to understand that there are African countries now opening their doors to those of us African descendants born in these parts here in the Caribbean and in the Americas. They're saying you can come home, you're welcome to come home. Come back to your roots. They're allowing us to come back and take up residence in those places. We need to stop. We need to stop it and stop playing games, man. That bigotry we have in us, that hatred we have for our own type, we need to set that aside. It's counterproductive.
Because it's believed or she's recognized as homosexual is the president of Barbados. Okay.
You know this woman, as you mentioned her name. I think she was recognized by one of the important media outlets in America as being one of the most influential world leaders. I forget what. Oh, I think so. One of the most influential leaders in the world, not just in the Caribbean area. We need to stop it.
We need to stop all this schism.
Yeah.
Okay? And treat people like human beings.
Yep.
We all are here. I recognize one race, the human race, because when you open the inside, you can't tell what the color of the person, what ethnicity they are. I recognize the ethnicity, of course. We have cultures and all that. I recognize that.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, we save human beings, and everybody should have the same human rights. Right to pursue of happiness, to practice whatever religion, and to be your true self, be able to identify yourself authentically. And I think we can all live in peace and happiness. Thank you.
All right, thanks for calling and sharing. Bye. All right, folks, let me just say that here is my position on that. That creature we call racism, I repeat, the creature that we call racism, I call it a creature because it's a created item, element, entity, if you may. But that creature called racism, we need to come together and shut the door in the face of racism and keep it out permanently from entering into our midst, period. You know, racism, 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 let it be bygone. Let it be bygone. No place for that. You know, both on my mother's side and on my father's side, we have white individuals in the family. We have white individuals in the family, so much so, I have a cousin of mine, when one of his children was born, because the wife worked amongst white people, people were saying that that wasn't his child, that the wife had cheated. The man has roots going back to the Caucasians. And so the child came out having some features of white folk. I mean, that has kind of mellowed out, you know. My grandson, who lives with me, if you saw him when he was born, up until when he was about 3, 4, 6 months, he was pure Indian. People were saying, where did you get this Trini child from, this Trini baby? He's got Indian roots in his family. And so he had the Indian features in him. He has of course outgrown these things. You don't see that in him anymore. But when he was born, people were saying that, you know, were asking us where we got this Trini child from. We need to stop it, folks. We need to stop it. We need to cast racism aside. And I understand that as we teach our children, as we discuss the development of our respective homeland. Yes, we're gonna touch upon these matters. The wrongs that were perpetrated upon our ancestors by others. You can never make that right. You can never make that right. But we can look at it, see what we can learn from the experience. And one important lesson is that we should all endeavor never to practice such injustices. One important learning seed nugget that we can extract is that we should resolve never to practice those injustices, to perpetrate those injustices on anyone. These are the important lessons that we need to learn. Now, folks, let me just continue by saying, and for those of you who speak the Creole language, French Creole in particular, you might have heard your parents, grandparents use the expression "Les babes comme moi de purifier, vous et ça." Mettez de l'eau en divin. L'âge qu'a mené la raison. C'est pas eux qui font filer la terre, c'est pas eux qui aident pour filer la terre. I've said a few things in the Creole language. Some things that were said to me and others, when we were growing up. And I'm certain that those who came from the predominantly English-speaking Caribbean areas, you had some of these proverbs being said to you. And hopefully these things still resonate with you to this day. But let Bab Kamwa de what does that mean? It means simply that when you see your neighbor in a predicament, check yourself. The literal meaning is that when your friend's beard is on fire, take some water and douse yours. The other one which says, c'est pas eux qui faut filer la terre, c'est pas eux qui aident pour filer la terre. Essentially what it says is that, hey, listen, man, you found yourself in this matrix. You didn't lay down the rules of engagement in this matrix. Just leave it alone. You didn't put the stitches on the garment. You ain't got to remove the stitches. Just leave that alone. That's not your responsibility. In other words, that's a reflection of the prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. L'âge qu'a mené la raison, mettez de l'eau en divin. What does this say? Age brings wisdom. Check yourself. Make adjustments in terms of how you live your life. In other words, put a little water in the wine that you drink. Don't just consume the wine like this without putting a little water to dilute it some. It ain't all that bad to drink some wine, The very Bible tells you, drink a little wine for the stomach's sake and for your oft infirmities. And so these were little things that were given to us, laid down to us, sound instruction and learning that many of us have set aside. But I'll ask those of us who know better to do better and to teach these things to the younger folk coming up. I've been watching a number of developments here at home and on the mainland And trust me, folks, what happens here, this is just a microcosm of the situation on the mainland. We take a lot of things for granted. I'm gonna get back to that. All right. Hello, caller. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning to you. Welcome to the program. Thanks and many happy returns to you.
Thank you very much. I've been looking for a song from the Padil area. I was told that by Mr. Ali, it was Mr. Kendall who sings this the wall. That's the wall. If I know somebody is at the station right now, I could come up there and probably play it for you. If I recorded it on my phone.
Oh, you want to play it on the air?
It was on the air, so I recorded it on my phone. So I can't find who sang the song.
Oh, you want to know who?
Play the words. And Mr. Ali told me, Mr. Ali Abdul Ali told me it was Mr. Kendall. What I want to do is to get what I wanted to do is to get a copy of this song so I could play it at a function that we have here.
Okay, let me tell you what.
And also, I would like to get some for this music that to post up to England. My sister, but I don't know. Those are playing right now, they are very nice ones, but I saw by Eddie, but I don't know where to buy them from to send to England on time for Christmas.
Okay, let me tell you what. I don't know if Josh is out there in the office right now, but let me take down my number and give me a call. Give me a call a little later. I'm after 12, and I'll see how I can make some arrangements to help you with this.
My teacher, Mr. Baptiste?
Yes, speaking.
Miss Pigot.
Okay, all right, Miss Pigot.
Yeah.
Okay, Well, let me just give you my number, so call me after 12, and I'll make arrangements so that somebody can take care of the situation for you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Go ahead and take it down. It is 340.
I haven't said anything paper now. What's the number?
340.
Hold on. It's not working.
All right.
I'm reliable. 340.
208.
208.
0055.
0055.
So give me a call after.
After 12?
Yeah, once I get off the air, give me a call. I'll make arrangements to see how somebody can help you with that.
All right, thank you for my dear teacher.
All right, it's good to hear your voice, man. Yeah, good to hear your voice. All right, take care. Be blessed.
You too.
All right.
I'll call you after 12 o'clock.
Right. Okay. All right. So as I was saying, folks, I was talking about the fact that all of these proverbs that we have, which I got a number of them in the Creole language, and I try to put them into practice as I live my life. As I've said earlier on, I repeat again that I'm not perfect, but I do my best to do the things that are right. And so when I see how some of us operate, and when I spoke with the educator earlier on this morning, we were talking about the need for people to be adequately informed, to be armed with information and sound information, information that rises out of wisdom, so that they make proper decisions that are beneficial to one and all in the community, not just in terms of going to the polls and voting for people who will give you reasonable service, but even in terms of our people who serve and don't always do it the right way. Hello? I'm on air, I'm doing fine. How about you? All right. All right. Hold a second. Go ahead, I'm listening to you.
Yes, good morning, Senator Baptiste and the listening audience. This is Dr. Derek, the time for me that's Hendrix, the keeper of the flame and the tip of the spear, the original son of the soil, the umbilical cord, the crucian patriot, the one and only organic, authentic son of the soil that could never ever be silenced because our ancestors was lynched, murdered, and hung from trees. I mean, we was captured, dehumanized, and burned just for talking and speaking to one another. So to be able to go through that in these times, and I understand what W.E. Du Bois did to our people, because Booker T, we was fighting for all our struggles of our ancestors on the slave plantations and all that we've been through in slavery. But when W.E. Du Bois came up, he said he ain't none of those Negroes like that. He a new Negro. And he went to Harvard, and he graduated because he went to Harvard, and none of those struggles don't got nothing to do with him. And he's going to train the Negro how to be obedient, to go beg for a seat to the table, and how to be dehumanized and raped from these Jews and these people who have come into our community with these demonic spirits to try to live as they are normal. We don't want them out their closet. Go back into the closet. We don't want our children to think that these people are normal. Our children need to know how to identify these demonic spirits and these predators who are trying to prey on the children's innocence and overstanding, and have our children go to God. As our President Donald Trump said, he is not funding any department of education people who is promoting sexual identity on children, because children don't have sexual identities. It's the adult who's preying on children's innocence. So we got to know how to identify these people who try to come as they are nice people and kind people to try to attach the struggle of our ancestors being brutally murdered, raped, and extorted for these same people to try to cover for these people like the Stacey Epstein Plaskin, these evil witch, and they always laughing and talking so nice and like they love kids.
Only thing I would say here, Derek, let's avoid calling any personal names as we discuss these matters. Make reference in some other way.
Well, we're not talking about any allegations because Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted child sexual predator. Prince Andrew have stepped down.
True.
The president for Harvard University have stepped down.
True.
And they have been convicted. So we're not talking about allegations. And after he got out, the attorney general at the time was Pam Bondi, and she won the Virgin Islands, the congressperson, the Department of Economic Development. She won all those people. Even President Trump warned them, stay away from Epstein, do not touch him. And guess what our legislative body and the congresswoman and all the people did? They worked with Epstein to change laws so that he could continue doing what he do. And the only business that Epstein had done was human traffic kids and putting 12-year-old. How can you have a 12-year-old prostitute? Listen to how these people wrote that up. There's no such thing as a 12-year-old child who's a prostitute.
What Epstein did was reprehensible. Of course, he was about to face a second trial after the botched thing they had in Florida. He was about to face trial in New York. But of course, his life came to an end. I'm going to leave it as that because I don't know exactly what happened there with his demise. But we're hoping that with all of the information that's coming out, Derek, as people begin to sift through the rubble, if I may use that expression, whoever needs to be exposed will be exposed. So we're going to give that some time. And I know that there is a lot of rumbling in terms of local politicians and others who may be implicated. We'll let the dust settle, and we'll see where the axe falls.
But, yes. Well, I want to send my condolences to Michael Springer. Just a real authentic brother. A brother who could stand for something and not fall for anything. As Malcolm X said, we don't listen to people telling lies on people, knowing that they didn't do something or say something. You don't just listen to people telling lies. And Michael Springer and yourself, Mr. Baptiste, you have exemplified in your actions men of honor, men of God, and that you respect our cruiser culture and royal family. That's what you're displaying right now. You're not a culture vulture, and you're not trying to silence the son of the soil, the keeper of the flame, and the tip of the spirit, and the king of the Indungo nation, because I'm not a tribe. I'm the king of the nation. So thank you again for taking my call, and we're going to move forward because I'm a man of God, and I come to spread the word of God and to save souls because I got to believe in forgiveness and redemption. But you're not going to come around me with your deceiving and that Jezebel spirit, as I said about the black woman, raising the kids and say, Croy, now look at Stacy Plaskett and the Jezebel, correct me if I'm wrong. Senator Baptiste, Jezebel was a black woman also.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for taking my call. Have a blessed time, and we'll circle back, Senator Baptiste.
All right, thanks for calling and sharing. You be blessed. Bye. All right, let's see. Do I have somebody online here? Let me just check and see. All right, no. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, good day, caller. Welcome to the program.
Yes, I'm just saying to myself that I almost missed your show. Again, you notice I've been calling in late these times because of the time change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my man.
But it's good. But it's good to have you, man.
Yeah, well, in Houston now is 2 hours behind the Virgin Island.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Anyway.
And you know how the Spanish them say, "Más vale tarde que nunca."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was laying here thinking, what the thing that has happened this past weekend,
Mm-hmm.
Thursday, I believe, on to last night, it can only cause even the greatest of sinners to come to the realization and admit that this is a manifestation of biblical, what I would say, what he was told, a profession,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm using the correct word. It was professed, and in the last days, these are the things that are going to be happening.
Mm-hmm.
Men, and when they say men, we don't necessarily mean men mean as universal in this thing. Men will be lovers of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my God, what can cause a son? Your parents are sleeping, and you're going to drive night in them, and depending on how much they were asleep, they could not come awake. They realize what the hell is happening to us. What do you want, young man? I mean, take a look at what happened with the Menendez brothers. They killed their own folks that were billionaires, and now they're in jail rotting because they can't get a penny. They claim that they of course, they come up with all kinds of foolishness after they were arrested, whatever they were let up. The final kinds of things. No, you wanted their money faster than they would give it to you. They give them. So now how you don't get it? I mean, this is, I don't know, you are a man of the Bible, just like myself, even though a lot of people don't believe I am. And just because they don't know me. I was brought up in the church.
Well, let me say.
Let me
say.
What I do now with my adult life is that right, but this is what I do, but I don't mean I don't know.
Let me say this to you, my brother, and this is true for us in the territory called the Virgin Islands of the United States, as well as those persons on the mainland. I just saw a couple of clips last week from male teachers and female teachers on the mainland who tell you what is going on with the public school children, and that a significant number of teachers, they're leaving the public school system, but the sad thing is that they're taking their children out of the public school system because the system is not delivering to public expectation. One guy said that the children in his time who went to high school were performing at a higher level intellectually than those who are graduating from college today. In other words, the standards have been lowered significantly. And our children, we're basically putting out functional illiterates, people who don't know how to think for themselves in a constructive manner. They're just going along according to every whim and fanciful doctrine that comes their way.
True.
One guy went as far as saying that the children, when the parents, the teachers who leave the system and take their children out and they're homeschooling those children, the children are missing out big time in terms of socialization. So when they come back to mix with the regular population, there is a disconnect. And it's a disconnect to the detriment of all concerned. Now, whilst I got this from people on the mainland, I'm submitting to you and those listening and viewing this program this morning that it is also very true of us here in this territory. We have nice children out there, including my grandchildren, and many of them have now recently moved to the mainland. But they're very nice children, but they're harboring some feelings that have not been addressed. And when you hear them speak to their parents, there is an element of respect that is lacking. Our children speak to their parents today almost as though it's their comrades, their friends.
Sometimes worse, sometimes worse.
All right. And so I'm saying we're taking these things for granted, but we need to address these things, my brother. We are heading for serious trouble here at home in the territory and on the mainland. And if folks in charge don't understand that and take note, pay attention, boy, hell and damnation comes upon us.
Well, you know, I'm glad you mentioned that, my brethren, because I have been told by some talk show hosts that I always talk about the mainland. And I don't know why they would say that, because I always preface my rumbling with saying that it's a sort of a copycat thing. It's the mainland is where the money is. So if you're saying I should start about the mainland, what the hell you come into the mainland to look for money for? Then fine and make your own money. But that's not the point. The point is this. Years ago, it used to be, as they would say, when people in the States see we boys and others catch a cold, no. Our lungs right now with fever and flu and everything else. That's what something does. Because, and you just use the word, John, we seemingly cannot think for ourselves anymore. So as long like this fellow will call himself the president, whatever he do is clap. God said him. God said who? I mean, any kind of foolishness. I mean, you know, and I have to talk with folks that, like myself, that's not big, I'm not PTA or anything like that, but we're interested and we try our best to help guide children the right way.
Let me share this with you.
The thing with a school shooting is a copycat. Like, I do it Monday, so you think you're what? I will do it Tuesday. I shoot up I
this,
don't know, man.
hear this here. We had a case of a youngster who was found at Central High School with a gun in his backpack. We had the
Yeah.
case. We had the case of the children who made the bomb threats, and I doubt, and I can be corrected, but I doubt very much that we have had follow-up sessions, meetings, counseling sessions. I'm talking about with the children to understand that these things are not right and they should avoid such behaviors, such practices. I doubt very much that we've done this sort of thing. I because of the program I have on Friday evenings with some young people, I'm getting information. And man, I've come across several sites with young Virgin Islanders, young Virgin Islands women who are on TikTok being influencers. My brother, they're beautiful. Their skin looks flawless, but they're making a point, which is a valid point. But for every other word, there is either an effing or a mother this. And I'm saying, man, look at these young ladies. They look so beautiful. And look at the foul language that they're using to make a point. And I say this of the young women, but I also see TikTok videos with our young males doing the exact same thing. They're beautiful, they're handsome, they're intelligent, but Jesus Christ, the way how they're coming across, this is the generation we have coming to step up to the plate today. We are in serious trouble.
We are in serious trouble, my brother. Let me go by saying this. It used to be so distasteful and I don't know the word I want to use and have to come foul. To see a young man sagging, as they would say, his pants, you know, his boxer or his brief. Today, it's what the ladies, the young girls are doing. Did you see the way they're going to stores? In some cases, too, I don't know how they get the legs of these cut so short. It was not any shorter. It would just be like a string around the waist. And tie up buttocks out. Flipping it in the air. And then looking around at you, asking you if you like what you see. My God, what have we come to? What have we come to? I'll tell you now, I'll listen for the rest of the time. Thank you.
All right. Take care, my brother. Blessings.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And I want the young people listening to me who hear me speak that way. I want to say something, folks. Young people will make mistakes. Young people need guidance. A lot of times when our young people go wrong, it's because we, the adults, who should have been giving them sound guidance and instruction, we have failed to do so. And we've come to a point today, in this day and age, and it's not just in the Virgin Islands, folks. Across the length of breadth of the Caribbean chain, over in the African countries, young people, male and female alike, have dropped down to a level of degeneracy. Yes, I said it. Our young people are promoting a lot of immorality, a lot of distasteful, indecent behavior. You know, a couple of years ago, I think not even sometime earlier this year or last year, I was shown pictures of what they call the Bam Bam Wall in one of the neighboring Caribbean islands. I have watched scenarios with Jouvet and the behavior that I see. I mean, it's like we're given to all of this fun and entertainment. I'm not totally against that. People should have a measure of fun and entertainment in life. Life was not meant to be all dull and boring. No. Have some fun. But don't tell me we can't have fun, we can't have entertainment, and maintain a level of decency. We're taking the position that it's all well and good to get engaged in this kind of behavior, which from my standpoint, from my viewpoint, just isn't uplifting. I remember seeing a video during a carnival celebration in one of the neighboring Caribbean islands. And this young lady went on a sort of like headstand and put her lower portion up in the air, gyrating and going on half nude. And you know what? She toppled over and fell right in front of the wheels of one of those six-wheelers or whatever you have, those trucks that have the band instruments and players on board, you know, and that run right over her. It's sad. I don't know if she died. She might have just been injured, perhaps permanently. But it's difficult when you see a young woman getting into this kind of practice and then she finds herself in a position of demise. And you don't gloat over that. There is nothing to gloat over that. There is nothing to sort of like find joy in this kind of outcome. That's not what you want for anybody. You don't wish these things on your worst enemy, sorry. But these things happen. And I'm saying to us in the Virgin Islands, I'm saying to us in the broader Caribbean area, we need to check ourselves. We need to check ourselves in terms of what we get into, the things that we practice, the things that we promote, the things that we accept. We need to go back to the point in time when there was a measure of decency expected. Hello, caller. Good day and welcome.
Yeah, I have to come back here if you will allow me.
Uh-huh.
You mentioned scenes and stuff that you were shown that happened in other Caribbean islands.
Uh-huh.
But then it tells me that you have not seen the mock that has happened in the Virgin Islands.
Oh, I've seen them in the VI as well, you know. Like I've said, that this thing impacts the entire region of the Caribbean chain and also in Africa. It's all over. It's our people doing us a disservice, and we need to correct it.
Well, let me just say this though. That the tree of the most, I don't know what to want to say. To me, whatever two people does in a bedroom is their business.
True.
And it cannot be called nasty. That's what you like to do. It's consented. You're doing it mutually in your bedroom. But when you come to the public, you have to call it letting your hair down. My head is clean and bald. I can't let it down. So, I don't know what it would take. It started out with two women. And it's always women. A man and a woman gyrating on each other in the street is nasty enough to people who don't want to see it. This is not a fun show. It's supposed to be cultural. But then when it comes to two women twist up on the street as if they're snakes and have children crying, they're fighting to find them. They're not fighting. They are scissoring, as they call it. Slap up between each other. Like, man, let me tell you something. Then there was the one with a same-sex marriage, right in St. Thomas and a Jew, black and a white, same-sex marriage in common, whatnot. The two of them had come by Jesus, who was on the care called Jesus in this. Why didn't one have on a tuxedo? The two of us don't have on a car. Who's the man, who's the woman? This is so preposterous.
Let me say this to you, my brother. Our children, they are too handsome. They are too beautiful for us to allow them to fall through the cracks in the manner in which they're falling through the cracks. I saw a scene at one of the public housing communities here in the VI where one guy approached a group of children, and boy, they got into a stick fight, and one lady, and apparently a adult lady, had a baseball bat in her hand, and they put some blows on this young man with sticks. But thank God, the baseball bat didn't connect with him. And I said to my wife, "You see this thing here? If for some reason they had beaten this guy to the point where he died, everybody would have been liable. All those who participated in that would have been going down, you know." And I've seen several other instances of violence in our public housing, you know, communities where people get into these entanglements that become violent. And we need to turn our children away from that. I go to the complex to pick up my grandson sometimes, and I've seen the children engaging in like throwing water balloons at each other's vehicles as they're driving out, and the way how they're burning tires and driving out of there, and not a single monitor is on hand to say that this is dangerous, you guys shouldn't be doing that. Because it's just a simple matter of one of those vehicles go out of control and you got absolute disaster. Our children need guidance, our children need supervision, our children need instructions in terms of just simply curbing or eliminating some of those behaviors that will lead to serious problems in the future.
And you're so correct, Chad, but then some adults stand around, look at it, and just laugh or cheer it out. You know? But let me close by saying this.
By the way, before you close, you heard that from our friend Springer.
Oh, yes. That's what I was going to say. Oh, my Christ. My brother and sister in Christ texted me yesterday afternoon and asked me if I heard it. My response was, what? I speak with Springer Junior every day, at least 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
I happen to be his godfather.
Wow.
His father, Springer Junior Mike, had walked and whopper with us, and he died at a very young age himself by complications of diabetes. I used to be in his apartment. We rolled together. We used to do boat rides and stuff together. We used to go Trinidad together for the carnival. Trinidad is where his father is from. His father is from St. Thomas.
Yeah.
And I witnessed his father so many times. I had to turn my face, having to inject himself his insulin. He was an insulin-dependent diabetic. And I said to myself, Jesus Christ, I hope maybe it could be that Junior didn't know he had it, so maybe did know and was not taking his medication. I mean, I couldn't believe it, but it points to the same thing that we were taught, you, myself, and all of us. We have to be ready. We know not the hour, not the day.
Well, I spoke.
No one should walk around with capacity that is being taught to us, rammed down our throat and eyes from the highest reaches in government. And when you're big and you got a big job and a big title, you're there. You got drop dead in the street right there when you swell-headedness. I mean, it is really sad. I haven't reached out to his. I've never met his children. I don't even know if he has children.
Yeah, he has children.
And that is sad. I should have get to know his children. But of course, I know his mom is gone, his father is gone. I only know of a sister that he had, Michi. He used to call him Michi when they were young. And he was called Papi. That's what his father used to call him.
Well,
I don't know.
I spoke about him when I began the program this morning. And I as a matter of fact, Springer 2 Mondays ago, Springer came by after my. Yeah, but 2 Mondays ago, after my program, he met me outside and he took my wife and myself out to have a couple of drinks with him. And I had not spoken with him in a while before that, and he shared some real close secrets with me at that time. I didn't realize that the brother was getting ready to make his departure. And I told people that although when he walked into a room, he had this air about him, this boldness, like, you know, he's indomitable when he comes in. But beneath all of this facade, he had a very soft spot in him. That's why he was into political activism and wanting to do for the community, because he had this softness in him that all of this bold, rash movement was just a facade,
Right.
you know. And so, you know, he really cared about the community. He cared about the less fortunate ones. He was a very generous guy.
Oh, yeah. And you know, my mind always go back to when he was placed in the maintenance department of education and the good job he was doing. Because of politics, we got him out and put a guy in there that's now facing stealing of maybe millions of dollars worth of equipment.
Crazy.
My mind always go back to John and what my mother used to say: make your falling and election sure. I know that
I sorry, but I messed up there, because Springer and I, we went out on so many occasions, and I never once told him. He knew where I stood from the standpoint of spirituality, but I never once said to him, Springer, you need to get your act together. You need to wholly and fully give your life over to the Lord. I never said that.
Right. What I was saying is that I know of at least 3 small businesses that he had. Because he and I always say, boy, we are such investors. I got my hand in a whole lot of businesses. Not that I'm running them, but I'm invested in them. You see. And you know, I only hope that his business will be cleared up, and maybe the partners will steal everything, and at least his sisters and children would have something from what is left of the business.
Well, my hope,
God give him peace and rest. Mike, go home to your God. Go home to your parents.
My hope is that, and I know that he had a very kind and loving heart, and so I hope that, you know, he's all right with the Lord.
Yes. Okay.
Well, all right, and thanks, my brother. You take care. Bye.
Thanks again.
Hello, caller. Hello.
Good afternoon. Good morning again.
Good morning and welcome back.
Yeah, I want to make something clear. Because some people are assuming that all pedophiles are homosexuals, and all homosexuals are pedophiles. You know, that's so far from the truth. Sexual predators come in all sex, color, sexual orientation. What one has to do with the other? What does somebody's sexual orientation have to do? A sexual assault is an act of violence. It has nothing to do with sexual orientation. So why some people implying that? They need to speak truth. And then to associate the Congresswoman State Department with pedophilia. She was never charged with enabling Jeffrey Epstein criminally. He did it on his own. And as a matter of fact, she explained in her message, which I played several times on my show, she wasn't even there at EDC when he was charged and when he was given the license, the EDC benefits. So, and it's not, I'm not promoting any sexual orientation. I don't even celebrate the fact that I am 110 heterosexual female. I don't celebrate. I know I am. And I appreciate my femininity, but I respect everybody's true authenticity, being a true self, and I have to lie and pretend to be otherwise. Because
well, hold on. We need to clarify a few things here. Let's make it clear that the Congress lady, along with some other former government elected officials and others, they were charged in connection with some Epstein-related activities or charges, but these were all dismissed. They, but they were all dismissed. All the charges were dismissed.
With prejudice.
And we need to establish that clearly. The charges were dismissed. Sorry. Now, at the same time, for those who are talking about further implications on the part of the Congress lady, as I pointed out to a caller earlier on, a lot of information has been released. Let's await for a complete sifting of the rubble. And if there are allegations to be made, let's wait until these things are made. But we shouldn't jump the gun to draw any conclusions, make any preconceived claims or charges against the Congress lady until we have assembled all facts and information that justify such action. But up until now, that is not on the radar screen.
Yeah, because some people are so hypocritical, so judgmental.
Yeah.
And that's one of the ways sexual predators get away, because they present to the public a certain image that people trust.
Right.
Like a school teacher, a principal, a counselor, a priest. And people put a lot of faith and trust in them. But they don't know what they're doing behind. So that's why those who are very homophobic, often, I'm not saying always, but often, they're the same one who battling their demons. And don't want to accept, yes, you're a homosexual, but you're in the closet. And you don't want the world to know. And you're being deceptive. So I have more respect for the person
that's
come out the closet and say, this is who I am. I am not breaking the law. And being me, and everybody, regardless of your sexual orientation, should respect the laws. I mean, there's some laws that are just, but nonetheless, under the U.S. justice system, we can do innocent until proven guilty. So people can assume. Sometimes a person is charged and they could be acquitted, but still after that, people have been condemned. And that's why I agree with you. You know, we have to be able to forgive, not forget, but people can redeem themselves. And I believe in being truthful and to put somebody down because they come out and say their sexual orientation. Does that make them a bad person?
Well, let me just say that there's a lot of miseducation, misinformation, misdirection in our community. Even those of us who go to church, we read the story about Jonah preaching to Nineveh. When Jonah preached to them, Jonah brought to them the error of the ways and how they were going against the laws of God. And from the king right down to the peasants, everybody said, okay, we are wrong. And everybody repented and went into ashes and into sackcloth and ashes. And even though God had pronounced judgment that in 40 days he was going to destroy, once people repented, he pulled back and he did not destroy the city. So people must understand that, you know, we have to direct persons and receive direction ourselves to know when we're going wrong and to avoid taking the wrong steps in life. And if we have done wrong, there is always an opportunity, as long as we're alive, to repent of the wrong and to change our ways. We got to be like that. And you cannot want forgiveness for you, but not for other people. Everybody has a right to receive forgiveness.
Because a person can redeem himself, okay?
True.
That is final.
Yeah.
And it's contradictory to what's in the Bible.
And let me share something with you and those who are listening. You know, when I did my studies in Spanish literature, there was this character called Don Juan, who was very romantic, the gajo type, caballero kind of guy, loved women. But one of the analyses they give about this guy from a psychological standpoint is that when you see a guy is after women like that, he's only hiding his latent homosexuality. I leave it at that.
I would say that a lot. And that's what I'm saying. It's always a cover.
Yeah.
That's why I respect the person that come out and identify themselves.
Yeah.
And people need to stop the hate. You can hate somebody because they said, I am gay. They ain't doing you nothing. How it is two people of the same sex get married.
Yeah.
how does that impact your happiness?
Well, like the guy before, the caller before said, when people do things in their bedroom, that's between them. Leave it there. None of your business.
It's
You
none
know.
of my business,
Yeah.
and it only impacts my happiness.
Yeah.
I respect everybody's freedom of religion,
Mm-hmm.
but don't impose it on me.
All right.
Because if you want to believe in a Jesus Christ with blue eyes and blonde hair,
Yeah.
that does not represent me.
All right.
I am a spiritual person. I give thanks and praises to my goddess of love.
All right. Thanks for
you.
calling, Shai. You are blessed. Bye. Let's see. I think I have one last caller. Let me try and bring this person in. This person. Hello, caller. Hello. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Yes. Go ahead. You have the last
Yes,
minute.
I'm back.
Yes.
Yes, just quickly, I just want to say something. I couldn't let it go. I find that whenever I would talk on a talk show and use the word LGBTQ,